The first joke landed wrong. The second one landed worse. By the third, Harry had stopped pretending to smile. Seth Meyers knew something was off within seconds. 12 years of hosting, thousands of interviews, and he'd developed a sixth sense for guests who arrived loaded for bear. Harry walked out stiff. Harry sat down tense. Harry looked at the audience like they were already his enemies. First minutes, Seth tried to find the friendly version of Prince Harry, the one from the Invictus Games clips, the one who laughed easily in his Netflix documentary. That version never appeared. Next minutes, the audience had gone quiet. By minute 12, Seth had abandoned gentle and gone direct. Then Harry said something that made Seth, the king of staying composed, actually pause. And then Harry stood up, smoothed his jacket, and delivered one sentence that would be replayed millions of times before sunrise. What Seth said in response ended any chance of recovery. You need to see how this unfolded. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and let's get into it. The Late Night with Seth Meyers studio at 30 Rockefeller Plaza had its usual pre-show energy. The 8G band warming up, the audience settling in, writers making last-minute adjustments to Seth's notes. Tonight's guest had generated significant buzz. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, appearing to discuss his new Netflix project. Harry arrived with minimal entourage, a publicist who hovered briefly, a communications handler who retreated after a whispered exchange. He walked onto the set with controlled precision, shook Seth's hand with appropriate firmness, settled into the guest chair with the posture of someone preparing for combat rather than conversation. Harry, thanks for being here. Thank you for having me. 3 words. Measured. Distant. Seth filed it away. You've got a lot going on. The Netflix project, the op-ed in the New Statesman, the anniversary. Let's dig in. The cameras began rolling. So, Prince Harry, Seth began with his characteristic warmth, congratulations on the anniversary. 8 years. That's impressive in Hollywood terms. That's basically diamond in celebrity marriage years. Harry's smile was technically correct, but carried no warmth. We're committed to each other. That's romantic. Committed. Like a business arrangement. Very touching. The audience laughed. Harry didn't. It is a partnership. That's accurate. Most people would say marriage, but partnership works. Very Montecito. Seth moved on. The Netflix project. No Way Out. Afghanistan. British soldiers under siege. Tell me about that. It's an important story that deserves to be told. The heroism of British troops is often overlooked. Overlooked by whom? The British press has covered military stories extensively. There's a whole tradition of it. By American audiences specifically. So this is educational. Teaching Americans about British valor. That's generous of you. Something flickered across Harry's face. I served. I know these stories firsthand. You did serve. Afghanistan. 2 tours. That's genuinely admirable. Though some critics have pointed out that No Way Out might be a response to Trump's comments about NATO forces staying back. I won't comment on Trump. But the timing suggests the timing is coincidental. We've been developing this project for years. Have you? Because the announcement came months after Trump's NATO comments. That's either remarkable coincidence or strategic positioning. Harry shifted in his chair. I don't appreciate the implication. What implication? I'm noting timing. Timing is factual. The framing suggests opportunism. The framing is observation. Whether it's opportunism is for viewers to decide. Seth's tone remained light, but his questions had found an edge. The audience sensed the shift. Let's talk about the op-ed, the New Statesman, anti-Semitism in Britain. You called it a divided kingdom. Strong phrase. It's accurate. The rise in hate crimes is documented. It is documented, though some found it ironic. You writing about a divided kingdom while being arguably the most divisive royal in recent memory. Harry's jaw tightened. I'm not divisive. I've been divided against. By whom? The institution, the press, forces that couldn't accept change. But the division exists regardless of cause. Your relationship with your brother is estranged. Your relationship with your father is complicated. You haven't visited the UK with your family in years. That's division. Division imposed on me. Is it? Because from outside, it looks like division you've participated in. The book, the interviews, the documentary. You've contributed to the narrative of conflict. I've told my truth. Seth leaned back. There's that phrase, my truth. It keeps coming up. But truth is supposed to be objective. When it becomes my truth, it becomes perspective, and perspective can be disputed. My experiences are not disputable. Your interpretation of them might be. You described conversations with family members. They've disputed your characterization. Who's right? I know what happened. And they know what happened. Different accounts. That's what happens in family conflicts. But you've made yours public and profitable. They've stayed silent. Does their silence prove you right or demonstrate restraint? Harry stood up slightly, then caught himself and sat back down. They've briefed against me for years. Through anonymous sources. You've given named interviews, Netflix documentaries, a memoir with your name on it. The scale is different. The scale reflects the scale of what I experienced. Or the scale of your media operation. Those are different things. Your father's anniversary message, Seth continued, or lack thereof. Reports say you were hurt that the royal family didn't publicly acknowledge your wedding anniversary. I won't confirm private feelings. They're described as close to you. If they're misrepresenting you, you could correct the record. You haven't. Because correction feeds the cycle. But initial leaking doesn't. You get the story out, you get sympathy, then you deny being the source. That's a very specific technique. Harry's face had gone red. You're accusing me of manipulation. I'm describing a pattern. The accusation is yours. I'm just noting that stories consistently emerge that benefit you, from sources close to you, which you then neither confirm nor deny. That's either manipulation or remarkable coincidence. The reconciliation efforts, Seth pressed on. Project Thaw, they're calling it. Your people reaching out to the palace. Is that real? Private family matters. Are the subject of your entire public career. You've written about private family matters, spoken about them on television, produced documentaries about them. The private designation appears when questions are uncomfortable, rather than when topics are genuinely private. I choose what to share. You choose what benefits the narrative. That's different. When sharing makes you look sympathetic, you share extensively. When it might complicate the picture, suddenly it's private? That's not true. Then explain the op-ed. You wrote about a divided kingdom. Very specific phrase from someone whose relationship with his kingdom is divided. You wrote for the New Statesman, a left-leaning publication, about social issues. Meanwhile, your brother sat next to David Attenborough at his 100th birthday while you wrote a thought piece nobody requested. The audience murmured. Seth had touched something. William does official duty. I do meaningful commentary. You believe those are different? I believe I contribute ideas. He contributes presence. And which is more valuable? Ideas from California or presence in the room? Let's try something else, Seth said. Day drinking. You know the segment. We go to a bar, we have drinks, we play games, very relaxed. Would you do that? Harry's expression suggested he would not. I don't do drinking segments. Because of the book, the drug admissions, you've been very public about substance use. Because I've moved past that. But you wrote about it, in detail. Cocaine, mushrooms, the frostbite on your royal member. Your words, not mine. If you've moved past it, why document it so extensively for profit? The book was about healing. Was it? Because the royalties suggest it was about money, and the details suggest it was about attention. Healing doesn't usually require graphic specifics. I was being authentic. You were being marketable. The graphic details sold books. That's not healing, that's content creation. Harry grabbed his water glass, took a long sip, set it down with visible force. This interview is becoming hostile. This interview is becoming honest. There's a difference. Hostility would be personal attacks. I'm asking about your public statements and choices. That's accountability. How's Megan? The temperature dropped. Not a topic I'll discuss. You discussed her extensively in the Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the book. Why is she off limits now? Because of the rumors. What rumors specifically? I haven't mentioned any. The constant speculation about our marriage. This program cannot continue like this. Seth didn't stand. Like what? With questions about your public statements? With follow-ups when answers don't satisfy? That's literally what interviews are. This is interrogation. It's conversation with someone who won't participate in conversation. You've blocked every topic. Foundation work, vague generalities. Netflix project, talking points. Family, off limits. Marriage, off limits. What exactly did you come here to discuss? Harry grabbed his jacket. I came to discuss my work. And I asked about it. You gave me promotional language. When I asked for specifics, you deflected. When I asked about timing, you called it implication. When I asked about family, you claimed privacy while having published a memoir about family. The contradictions are yours, not mine. You're determined to make me look bad. I'm determined to have an actual conversation. You're determined to deliver talking points. Those goals are incompatible, and when they conflict, you blame the interviewer. Harry moved toward the exit. Every interview becomes the same. Have you considered that you might be the common factor? I've interviewed hundreds of people, politicians facing indictment, celebrities mid-scandal. Most of them could engage in dialogue. You can't. That's not the interviewers. That's you. Harry paused at the edge of the stage. You've joined the chorus against me. Seth shook his head. There's no chorus. There are people asking questions you don't want to answer. When enough people do that, you've decided it's coordinated. It's not. It's just observation. You make public claims. People examine them. When the claims don't hold up, you call it attack. My claims hold up. Your book had documented inaccuracies. Your foundation can't point to specific accomplishments. Your family disputes your version of events. Your Netflix deal was downgraded. Your Spotify deal ended. At what point does holding up require acknowledging what's actually fallen down? Harry walked off. The studio door closed behind him. Seth turned to face the camera, his expression mixing bemusement with something like fatigue. Well, he said this program couldn't continue like this. He was right. It couldn't continue with him refusing to participate in it. The band played a brief musical sting. The audience wasn't sure whether to applaud or sit in stunned silence. I want to address what just happened, Seth said, settling into his chair, because I imagine it'll be characterized in very specific ways by morning. He looked directly at the camera. I asked Prince Harry about his Netflix project. He gave promotional talking points. I asked about his op-ed. He accused me of implying things. I asked about family reconciliation. He claimed privacy. I asked about his marriage. He walked out. Seth spread his hands. These are the softest questions I know how to ask. I do a closer look segments that are genuinely critical. I go after politicians with actual hostility. What I offered tonight was conversation. He experienced it as attack. He paused. That gap between what's offered and what's perceived tells you everything. Flee. They call normal discourse hostile. They leave rather than defend. He leaned forward. Prince Harry left because he couldn't defend his positions. Not because my questions were unfair, because he had no good answers. When I asked about the Netflix timing, he couldn't explain it. When I asked about reconciliation, he couldn't discuss it. When I asked how his wife was doing, he treated it as an attack. Seth shook his head. That's not my hostility. That's his fragility. And until he addresses it, until he can sit through questions without experiencing them as persecution, every interview is going to end exactly like this one. He turned to the camera. When we come back, I'll do a closer look at something that won't walk out on me. Stick around. The footage aired that night. NBC made no edits. The clips that spread captured the escalation. My truth keeps coming up, but truth is supposed to be objective. I asked how she is. That's courtesy. The fact that you heard speculation in a simple question is revealing. This program cannot continue like this. Like what? With questions? Every interview becomes the same. Have you considered that you might be the common factor? That's not my hostility. That's his fragility. Harry's team released a statement calling the appearance an ambush disguised as conversation, designed to generate viral controversy rather than substantive discussion. Seth addressed it the following night. Ambush? I asked about his project, his op-ed, and his family. Standard interview topics. He couldn't handle any of them. The ambush was accountability. If accountability feels like ambush, maybe examine what you're defending. The closer look segment that night focused on Harry's pattern. This is the third interview in 2 months where Prince Harry has walked out. Graham Norton, Bill Maher, now us. The interviewers span the ideological spectrum. The only common factor is him. At some point, you have to ask, is it everyone else, or is it you? For Seth Meyers, the interview became an unexpected viral moment. Proof that even the most accessible host couldn't penetrate defenses that had become pathological. For Prince Harry, it was another departure, another platform lost, another interviewer reclassified as enemy for the crime of asking follow-up questions. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between what Seth offered, genuine curiosity, playful but substantive conversation, and what Harry experienced, persecution, hostility, coordinated attack, was the story itself. Seth had asked about work. Harry had heard condemnation. Seth had asked about family. Harry had fled. And in that flight, in that inability to sustain even the friendliest of late-night conversations, everything anyone needed to know about Prince Harry's capacity for public life became visible. Some people can handle questions. Others can only handle control. When control disappears, so do they. This program cannot continue like this. He was right. Neither can he. What do you think? If you want more content that doesn't back down, *subscribe. This is where the real conversations live. *drop a like. It helps more than you believe. *share this with someone. They need to see what really happened. More questions, more accountability, more of what everyone else won't ask. Stay with us.